everybody. Today we'll be making little Halloween vignettes, and I just wanted to give you a little list of what you'll need before we get to the fun part and start making them. So a lot of it is what you see here. You'll want something to put it in. I used a tin. This one isn't vintage, but you could also use vintage, or it doesn't even have to be a tin. Could be any sort of box or container. Reduce, reuse, recycle. You'll want some little florals. I made this out of paper mache, but you could also make it out of polymer clay, which I also did that in this video. I made some little minis out of polymer clay. And this is like a little vintage, I think it's a like cupcake topper or something. It's like just sticks right in. So this one I didn't use any glue, but you might also want some glue if you are worried about anything moving around. But with the floral foam, which you'll need some sort of foam, stays in there pretty good. I also have like a little bit of moss in there as like the grass, which I found helpful. But there's so many different ways you can do it. You don't necessarily need the stuff I have, because there's so many different ways you could make a little scene out of them. I kind of look at what I have and see what makes the most sense to me. So with this little tin, I knew I couldn't make like a big scene with it, but I decided to kind of go with a overgrown like graveyard look. And so I made a little like headstone and grabbed some of my florals as like the brush, and then I just took the floral foam and measured how long and wide I would need to cut it down to fit in the tin. The floral foam is really easy to cut. I kind of just rubbed it against the scissors because the scissors weren't really big enough to cut it all in one go. But you could also use a knife, or you could use a lot of different things to cut it. But scissors works just fine. The only thing I don't like about the floral foam is that when it breaks into like a million different pieces, and you can feel it all on your skin, and you can see it all over the table too. And they're very small pieces some of the time, so it feels weird. But other than that, it's really useful. And I like to have it just a little bit, not at the top of the tin, a little bit down further, because we're going to put like fake moss and stuff on it, so that'll be level with the tin and you won't see the foam as much. If you were gonna see the foam a little bit more, I would maybe paint it a different color so it blends in with your scene, and then cover it with something if you can. But there's so many different possibilities you could make. So with this one, I didn't use any glue. I just kept on adding foam or cardboard and stuff to hold it together. And the skull, you can see, has a pointy thing where it can just stick into the foam very easy. A lot of the fake flowers can just stick into the foam very easy. The only thing I maybe could have glued down if I felt the need to was like the fake moss that I added eventually. But the skull kind of has those little like crossbones sticking out of it, and it seemed like everything was staying pretty good. Plus, I'm not going to be like flipping and tossing this thing around, so I figured it was fine to not have it glued down. And that way, if you did eventually want to use it for something different, you could remake it down the line. Nothing's permanent this way, but if you wanted it to be a little bit more permanent, you could definitely add some glue. And I just kind of move things around until I'm happy with it. It's kind of hard to know exactly where things are going to go until you're putting it all together and seeing it come to life. And then you can make little decisions to tweak it. But this is actually like my second time making one of these, so I still have a lot to learn, but I think it's a fun little decor that doesn't really have to be expensive. Most of the items I bought while thrifting. I had been kind of saving up materials to make stuff like this because I've been wanting to start to make them. So I knew, like, I'm like, okay, I look for little tins when I'm out at yard sales, and I found that little skull at an estate sale, and I got like a whole bag of floral, like more Christmas stuff, but I got a few like autumn color leaves at a yard sale, and I just been saving up little things for these crafts. And like the tombstone I made out of paper mache, and then later in the video I'll make stuff out of polymer clay. So you can definitely just use what you have as well, but I would suggest if you want to make these, look for the items secondhand because they are available if you are patient enough. I know sometimes it's easy to just go out and buy it though, because I also get not being completely patient, and plus some people don't have the luxury of thrifting as much as I do. But I think it's turning out really cute, and I'm glad I got to do it on a budget as well. I think like the next thing I want to look for to make more of these is maybe like an interesting shaped stick to work as like a dead tree. I think it would be cool to make like a spooky forest scene with something like this. And I need to find more of these little cute vintage skulls. They're so adorable. So it's been a while since I've done anything with polymer clay, but I need like little mini decor, and I normally get a lot of my little miniature like pumpkins and skulls and little decor pieces for these tins and these little vignettes at estate sales, garage sales. I normally get them thrifting, but I thought it might be fun to try and make some little mini figures out of polymer clay. And I think pumpkins would be pretty easy to do, and one of the things I want to make is like a pumpkin patch. So I'm going to attempt to make some. I haven't messed with polymer clay in a while, so hopefully we'll see how it goes. I'm not an expert at using polymer clay, but one of the things I like about it is that it stays like malleable, and you can change how it looks all the way up until you bake it in the oven, and then it sets its shape and you can't really move it anymore. But that gives you a lot of time to perfect it. It does take some patience, and you will see your fingerprints all over it if you do it like I do it. I want to get better at using it, so I'm going to try to make more, because it's so fun making little mini items too. And I was determined to have a pumpkin patch by the end of this video. So I did spend quite a bit of time on these, but probably about an hour making the pumpkins, and then I put them in the oven for honestly a little bit too long. For these, I left them in there for 45 minutes, and I kind of forgot about it, but they still turned out okay. I like the idea of using polymer clay instead of like just buying many things, because you can control a lot of the features, and just learning a new craft is kind of fun. But it's probably easiest to do it all at once if you have a certain project in mind, making all the little pieces at once, because it's time consuming, and then I get a little bit like I just want it to be done, and it's sitting in the oven, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just have to wait a little bit longer. And for these ones, I did like add a little bit of wire, like copper wire I had scrap from when I make jewelry, and I stuck it in the bottom of them so that they would easily be able to stick into the floral foam, and I could move them around and just kind of adjust how they sit a little bit easier, and that way I wouldn't really have to glue it as much. So that's a suggestion if you do make anything with the clay, you could add a little wire at the bottom to make it easier to move around. This is me super focused on trying to add more details and smooth out my fingerprints with a tool. This is very difficult, and I definitely didn't get all of them, but it helped a little bit, and I think they're super cute. So these are after baking them, so they are hard. And I put little wires so that I can stick them in like floral foam easier. I'm not the best at making stuff with polymer clay. Maybe I'm just not patient enough to blend it out good. But I still think I really like the pumpkins are the favorites. I don't mind this one either. A little tombstone and then a spider. Layer of foam on the bottom just to raise it up a bit because these aren't quite tall enough, but after that it fits good in this size of tin. Alright, this might be obvious, but I don't really know how to make this part look perfect, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to cover it with little mosses and stuff. So I will glue it down this time and see what it looks like. I thought I had recorded me gluing down the moss and stuff over the foam, but I realized I must have didn't hit the button right or something, so that footage is gone. But here's me just kind of decorating it with some fake leaves and flowers and just trying to make it look kind of like a autumn pumpkin patch with this little ghost. I think with the other stuff around it, the polymer clay, it's not perfect, but it blends in more and looks really cute with everything all together. And I just kept on adding little bits of nature to make it look more full. And I like adding it in the back as like a background. It would be also cool to make like a little building out of cardboard. I might try that eventually. But I was loving this little ghost in a pumpkin patch. And the rusty tin. I kind of liked making this bigger one more than the little one because you had more room to play around with and decide where you want things. But it also takes more materials, so. And it also took a little bit longer to make the pumpkins and everything. It was just a little extra step that I didn't really have to do with the other one I made. But I was really happy with it. And I have a little stick here. You can use whatever you have. Well, they are far from perfect, but I really like it. Little ghost in a little pumpkin patch. Little graveyard scene. I like them. Which one's your favorite? I kind of want to practice making more of these bigger ones, but I also really like the little cute one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and subscribe for more crafts and thrifting. We really appreciate all the support, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.